Good afternoon, buenas tardes, good evening. My name is Abelardo de la Peña Jr. I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications with La Plaza de Cultura y Artes. Welcome to En Casa con La Plaza Dan Guerrero Happy Hour. It's a beautiful Thursday evening, and we got a great guest. But before we get started, let me go ahead and tell you what's going on here at La Plaza de Cultura y Artes. I'm going to share a screen with you. First of all, this Saturday, we have a documentary, Margaret Garcia, An Intimate Portrait. It's this Saturday at 1 o'clock. It takes you on a journey into the private life of this trailblazing American painter and one of Southern California's most authentic voices. As you know, Margaret Garcia has an exhibit here at La Plaza going on, Arte para la Gente, the art of Margaret Garcia. It's an incredible exhibition that I'm sure you're going to enjoy, and this will give you an introduction to her life as one of our Chicana icons, one of the artistas most well-known in the community nationally and internationally. Also, some sad news to report. I'm sure you've probably heard by now. Our founder, the great Gloria Molina, passed away this past Mother's Day on Sunday on Mother's Day, 74 years old. Young woman who did so much. She was the first Latina in the LA City Council, the first Latina in the California State Legislature, and the first Latina LA County Supervisor, plus, as I said, the founder of La Plaza de Cultura y Artes. In honoring her, we have an exhibition which our curatorial team just set up. It's called Gloria Molina Community Champion, which includes photographs of her legacy. Then also, you may not know, but Gloria was an incredible quilter. So that quilt that you see in the foreground, it was created by Gloria, and we also have another one on display. I'm sure you want to give your message to Gloria or to the family. So we've also created the Community Quilt of Hope. That's right on our first floor gallery, in which you could come in and complete a fabric square called a block in the quilting world, which will be included in this community quilt, sewed together, stitched together by Telas, the East LA Stitchers, a quilting group which Gloria herself founded, and then it'll be presented to the family. We're already, it's 169 squares. We've already accumulated more than 169, and this is just some of the messages that people have written on these fabric squares. Thank you for being a shining light on the Latino culture, says one. Thank you, Gloria, says others. Drawings, your personal messages, whatever. Just come on down to La Plaza de Cultura y Artes. We're open Wednesday through Sunday from 12 to 5. We're free of charge, of course. And go down to the LA Starts Here exhibition, and you can contribute to the Community Quilt of Hope. We'll be having a celebration of life for Gloria on Saturday, July 15th, 5 o'clock. Details to come. It's going to be an incredible way to honor the legacy of Gloria Molina. With that, let's liven things up a little bit. And who better to liven things up than the host of the Dan Guerrero Happy Hour, Mr. Dan Guerrero himself. Please zoom in, Dan.
And here I am. Wow. Yeah, I'll liven you up in a minute, but right now I'm, I was at La Plaza a couple of days ago, and even though she didn't have an office there, it's her. And knowing that she was now not with us physically, there was just a different feeling that I got there. It was, she was an incredible woman, and I loved her, as so many did. Of course, a lot of people were scared of her too, and that's good. That's how she got so much done. You got to scare people to get things done. So, as you know, when she first announced her illness, she said she didn't want people to be sad, that she loved the life that she'd had, and she had her daughter and her husband and grandchildren. So in that tradition, we are going to move on and be glad that we knew her and that she was here. So that's all I have to say about that.
Well, you said it all there, Dan. Go away so we could continue in this happy hour. So we'll see you tomorrow.
That's right. It's kind of a semi-happy hour, but now we're moving to the happy hour part. So it's all going to be fine. So I guess you should just tootle off. I'll do a little intro and I'll bring on our beautiful, she's gorgeous, right?
Yeah.
Our beautiful guest for tonight. So I'll see you in a little bit.
All right, bye-bye then.
So my guest tonight has been described by the press as being, I should say, a jaw-dropping soprano, a soprano with a pure and silvery voice. But I figure, why describe it if we can hear it ourselves and make our own decision? So I have a short clip for you here. Standing ovation. The press is right. I'm so glad. I want you to please zoom in. Alba Franco-Cancel.
Hello.
You are. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm delicious now that you're here. Now, even you were impressed with that, weren't you?
Well, it's always uncomfortable to see ourselves perform.
It is hard to see yourself sometimes like that. But when you see yourself like that, are you removing it like you're seeing her as opposed to me? You know, do you separate it, or oh, it is you, huh?
It's always me, and I always think something else can go wrong, even though I know how it ended. It's always like, okay, is something else going to happen? But it's a very weird sensation.
Well, that's funny, because usually most people, they kind of are seeing that person as somebody else and going, oh, that's good, but she could have done this or she could have done that. So that's interesting. So I would like to toast your jaw-dropping soprano.
Thank you.
And
Salud.
your pure and silvery voice. So we're going to talk about that voice. Let's start there, right at the crux of it all. I should say that clip, by the way, was from a concert rather than a full opera with Opera San Luis Obispo, where you were a resident artist. For those who don't live in LA, it's about an hour's drive north of here. What does a resident artist do? I know you perform, but do you do a workshop? What else do you do as a resident artist?
Well, as a resident artist, we have different kinds of like commitments and jobs. When there's an opera production, we most likely get like the first, round of auditions, because we still have to audition for roles. But we also do some outreach. We bring opera to the community. So we kind of like show them what they could eventually be part of and just attend and see. We do concerts like that one. That was a gala concert at the PAC in San Luis Obispo with Ryan Al-Hadif, who is the artistic director, conducting. So basically it's that. We do outreach, we do opera productions and big gala concerts like that.
And the outreach is important because I think that still a lot of people think opera's not for them. Opera's for fancy people, or, they just don't feel they belong, a lot of people. How do you change that perception? That's hard.
Exactly. It's very hard, but every opera company has their own community outreach programs where we specifically mostly target like high school and like schools, like intermediate schools, high schools, and we bring them little programs. We also do, like, when we have a production, we invite them for free to just attend one of the rehearsals. And then it's not like they're gonna, develop a love for that kind of art, but at least they're exposed.
That's right. And you can change someone. Someone's perception can be changed by a single performance. I mean, they can change. So that's great. But let's talk about the pipes. Let's talk about the pipes. Now, ordinarily, I might ask, now, when did you first discover, or did your family discover you had this great gift? But in your case, I read a story online that your mother likes to tell about, do you know story I mean? Where you kind of announced it. Could you tell us that story?
Well, what she told me it happened, because I don't quite remember. But she always likes to tell this story about one of the first words that I ever said was that I was a singer and an actress, and that she would sometimes find me in front of the mirror just crying and screaming, and she would be like, "What's wrong?" And I would tell her, "I'm practicing. I need to know how to cry." Like all these stories, like, and I've always known, I've always felt like a singer and an actress, not like I want to be, but it's like I had no choice. Like, this is what I am. I don't care if I do it well or wrong.
I'll tell you a story. Linda Ronstadt tells an almost identical story. She was
Really?
4 or 5, although she says she remembers it, and knowing her, I'm sure she does. She's got quite a mind. That she was about 4 or 5 and listening to the radio, and either there was a female singing and she maybe started to sing along, or just heard, I don't know. But she says she remembers very clearly thinking to herself, oh, that's what I am. I'm a singer.
Wow.
And
That's great.
as you know, she did quite well, as you have. So I'm saying, that's almost spooky, that someone arrives, and some people in their 40s are still looking for what it is they want to do, but to arrive and know who you are, and then PS to have the gift that you really can be, that's saying something, right?
Yeah, I sometimes don't even understand it very well. But yeah, I've been always fascinated by the human voice in general, like just the instrument, and by the arts. And I just always knew there was nothing to just even think
Nothing to
about.
discuss. It was a done deal.
Yeah.
Now, you started music lessons in earnest when you were about 9 in your native Puerto Rico. What lessons were they? They couldn't have been voice lessons yet at that age.
They weren't voice lessons. There was a music program at my elementary school. I'm a part of the public schools here in Puerto Rico. And they had a program for kids from, I think it was 4th grade, 5th and 6th grade. But I wanted to start music lessons before, because I've always wanted to. My mom couldn't afford voice lessons, but there was that little program at school. So I talked to the teacher, and he allowed me to just join the flute choir before I was allowed.
Wow.
And he was the first person who really introduced me to real music, like learning how to read music, playing an instrument, singing in a choir.
What was it? Classical music? Classical music?
No, we were playing music with the flutes and singing just boleros with the choir. We weren't singing real classical music, but he prepared me to study at another public school. Here in Puerto Rico, we have specialized public schools. So if you don't want to go to a regular public school, then you can audition to either the music, it's high school, which goes from 7th grade to the high school. And you can, so there's a ballet one, so for dancers, a theater one. And I was in between the theater one and the music, but the theater one decided that they were gonna do auditions on 8th grade, and I was moving from that school on 7th. So I entered into what we call Libre de Música. It's a high school musical school. And from there, I was introduced to voice lessons and introduced to classical singing.
Yeah, because I was going to ask you that, because I know that one of your earliest roles was Maria in West Side Story. Was that in high school? Were you in high school?
That was in high school. That was another program, which I think doesn't exist anymore, which was so sad. That was a program that was in the weekends, and it was another school which they would pick up students with inclining to the arts,
Mhm.
in Collegian Arts, and they would pick us up around our town and bring us to the west of the island, and we'll spend like the whole weekend there doing musicals if you were a singer actress or in the band orchestra. So there I was casted as Maria, and I did Maria 2 years until I graduated high school.
That's funny because one of the questions I was going to ask, but you answered it on how you decided to go classical opera as opposed to musicals, because that Susana Guzman, our mutual friend, she was in that. Did she want musicals? Did she want, you can go either way at some point.
Yeah, I wanted to sing pop music, actually. I wanted to be a Shakira. I wanted to be, something
Well,
like
I
that.
do too. So then what does that mean?
Well, at Shakira when she was singing Spanish music.
Oh,
when
I
she
see.
was
Okay.
a
that
writer,
way.
with the curls and the guitar and the. But when I started in La Libre de Música, I was introduced to opera. I still didn't like it. I wasn't convinced about it because I was learning lyrical singing, to sing as a soprano, but I wasn't really exposed to a role. So I was doing theater on the side because I always liked acting too. And when I was casted as Maria, I loved it, but I didn't associate that with opera. So I wasn't quite sure that I liked opera or not. I did end up going to the Conservatory of Music, which was for opera. Still not very convinced. I was like, well, life put me this in the way and it seems like I can do it. So let's just get an undergrad degree and see what happens. And it wasn't until I got casted with the first lead role at the conservatory that I was like, I can act, I can sing. I think I like this stuff. And then I started taking it more seriously. And from there, I decided to go for my master's degree in opera. And from there, I continued through doctoral degrees in opera and
it was opera. And ironically, now Broadway musicals are being embraced by the opera world. Candide, Leonard Bernstein, Sweeney Todd, Sondheim, and Little Night Music. A few have worked. And you did Phantom of the Opera in Italy, right? In Italy.
Yeah, in Bari, Italy. Yeah, some opera companies take like the crossover operas. Like they're called crossovers, like Candide and all those, even West Side Story, which are mainly done by Broadway or opera companies. So, and they are more popular with the audiences. So that way opera companies can, get a chance to bring new audiences and then build them up, to opera.
Yeah. Now you talked a little bit about your training because people do think, oh, you have this beautiful voice, so you just go out and sing. But the work and the training, you mentioned the Conservatory of Music in Puerto Rico, but a Doctor of Musical Arts in Voice Performance from the University of Missouri in Kansas City, a master's from the University of Illinois, a long list of voice teachers, coaches. What is the difference between a coach and a voice teacher? What's the difference?
A voice teacher will work on your technique. So work strictly on specific your voice. Yeah, either working on your vocal extension or working on your legato line, working on specific aspects of your technique. And a coach, some coaches do too, because they are really good at what they do and they have a whole training, but usually a coach will coach you around more on style. So if you're singing a Baroque aria, they will coach you around what's on style for that type of period, or will tell you, check out the tuning on this place. And you as a singer, and with the knowledge of your technique will say, okay, so I have to do this and that, instead of someone telling you, do this and that. And the coaches usually play the piano too.
And I was going to say the coach also may get more into the acting of the thing. And you do consider yourself an actress in addition to which is, I'm saying new, not 2 years, but there was a time when they just stepped forward and sang. And now opera singers, they have to act like Meryl Streep and sing. I've seen operas where they've got the woman hanging upside down and she's hitting a high C. I mean, it's become ridiculous, really, right? So you do have to act. No longer can you just have a beautiful voice.
Yeah, we are singer actors. We should not classify ourselves just as singers, because in opera, the music is not standalone. There are words, there's a story, there's,
That's right.
character that we have to bring to life and do justice to.
We're going to look at a few photos here of some of the soprano roles that you have done in opera, a little montage. So we're doing 3 of them, so you can tell us the character and the role, and maybe you hated it, you loved it, whatever, or you don't have to say anything. You can do anything you want. This is your hour. So we have the first image here. Abelardo, do we have? I love that. That's a great. Now there's an example. You're probably having to hit an E above high C while you're there.
Not while being there. I think it was a C. I don't quite remember, but I loved this role. I loved her so much. Because I'm a high soprano. I'm always doing fairy tales. I'm always like a fairy. I'm always, or a servant doing like funny stuff. But that one I loved because this is from Cendrillon by Massenet, which is the story of La Cenicienta. Oh my gosh.
I don't know, because I don't know this opera at all.
It's the classic story of Cinderella. But in opera, in a French opera written by Massenet. So she is the fairy godmother. And she was very fun because she was not just like a fairy. She was like very strong and like, I want this and I want this to happen right now. And then she would sing some high notes and staccati, and then she would go back to being like a fairy. I love that role.
That sounds fun. Where did you do that?
That was in Missouri. Yeah. And they carried me up. I was like that, carrying me away into the whole stage until from stage right to stage left. It was very fun.
And then we have another one here from Magic Flute, which is marvelous. Look at that.
Yes, that was with Opera San Luis Obispo.
What happened?
The Queen of the Night, yeah. That was with Opera San Luis Obispo. And funny story. So I've sung Queen of the Night 3 times. That's a role that it's very demanding vocally. It requires very high notes and high F. So it requires a very specific kind of singer, like a high soprano, very high soprano. The thing is, that's a role that she's supposed to be very strong. She's the mother of Pamina, and she's supposed to be like, commanding, which musically she is. And I've gotten casted 3 times, but I am 5 feet. So I'm very small. I'm not very tall, you know it.
Yeah.
The thing is, they always want her to sound like I can sing it, but they want her to look bigger on stage.
Commanding.
So I always have a story for Queens of the Night. Like this one, I was up in a ladder, a 6-foot tall ladder.
Oh, wow.
And I had something on my waist, like keeping me there. So I couldn't do like big movements, like commanding anything or being like too sharp, because I couldn't easily.
Oh my God.
So it was a very interesting production. It was fun.
And dangerous. I
didn't feel that. I mean, it could have been, but I felt secure and safe, but still it was like, not much work to go.
It's a great photo. It's a great photo. And then Così fan tutti.
My favorite role ever. She's fun. So the difference between this role, I mean, you guys can see it basically in the pictures. But between the other one, who is like a character who people are expecting like a beautiful singing, commanding. They're waiting for those high Fs because that's why they go there, just to listen to that, and a couple arias like Pamina's aria and Sarastros, but those high Fs. But Despina is all about the acting, and I love acting. I love being able to just do a bunch of stuff and move around and sing and run. And this character here, she's disguised as the doctor. So she's singing, but she's not really singing. She's just doing like a very weird voice, which us as singers never get to do that because we have to sound beautiful.
Right.
But this character sings in two different other characters, and she gets to sing ugly and, you know, raw. So it's just, she's so fun.
And when I saw this photo, I thought, I know she loved this role because we've worked together. We're going to talk to that in a while, but because you're very funny, and I have a photo that I'm not showing tonight, but at rehearsal, I went to take a picture. You turned around and you crossed your eyes. You remember that? And I thought, no, I won't show it. But when I saw this, I know you probably enjoy comedic characters and not just always the lovely soprano, right?
I do prefer comedic characters.
Yeah.
I definitely, and Mozart characters. I could just sing all those servants in Mozart's operas. I could just live out of that. And not even sing a high note ever. I will be fine with that. I just really like developing the character. And if the character has the power, and if that power is through manipulation and comedy,
you're there.
I'm there.
You're there. What was I gonna? Okay, so let's talk about when we met, which was the mariachi opera Cruzar la Cara de la Luna, and in Northridge at the well, it was then the Valley Performing Arts Center. Now it's the Soraya. But for me, and I think for some of the cast, maybe you, it was a dream gig. I mean, it's one of my handful of favorite ever experiences. It was the perfect storm. I adored the cast. The venue, they couldn't treat you better at the Soraya, and the audience reaction and the piece itself, it really, it stands out for me. We have a photo there, but don't you feel similarly?
I do feel similarly, but if it was.
Oh, here we are. It's Susana Guzman on the left. Mendoza, who I love, he was a real mariachi singer. Juan Mendoza, who had never done an opera. Remember?
Yeah, it didn't.
And that's, of course, Daniel Hernandez. But take that away, Belardo, so we can hear her while she talks about it. Thank you.
Yeah, that was such an interesting production, and which I would absolutely love a redo, like a do-over, because I don't know if you remember, but I got very sick.
I do remember.
So, and I had looking forward to it like for so long. And when I got there, it was like a 2-week period of rehearsals, like
yes,
1 week rehearsals, and then, you know, tech and, you know, sound and all that. And I got sick like the first week, and it was so sad. I still think of it like kind of sad because I wanted to enjoy it more, but I was so worried. I was so anxious all the time because I wanted, you know, the production to be what it needed to be, what it was, you know, this important work in an important theater with amazing cast. And at some point I was feeling like I was letting down everyone, and it was like so much, you know, stress. And then I even had to get like shots, and then my voice, you remember that I couldn't sing for the dress rehearsal, so they couldn't do like the sound testing and everything, and every day my voice was different. So I always think of it as the most amazing experience, but always like, only if I wouldn't have gotten sick, I could have, you know, really enjoyed that bliss,
the whole
that
process, because you were so yeah. But I remember it very well because I remember you're saying, I have never lost my voice. I have never. So it was a whole new thing for you. And I was very calm because I knew you'd do it. I always did. I never once worried, oh my God, what am I going to do? Anyone out there know this role ever? Because I was perfectly confident that you would do it. And indeed you did. But the funny thing is, when you finally got your voice back, I was like, oh, because I'd forgotten how beautiful your voice was. I hadn't heard it. You know, when you auditioned and we fell in love with you, we said, yes, please. And then in that week with all the going down, I kind of forgot. And when you sang, I'm sure it was the day before, whatever it was, I remember thinking, oh my God, I forgot what a jaw-dropping soprano you are. It's a beautiful.
You were also supporting. And as you said, I got sick and I even went to a doctor around there and they didn't give me anything. And I was like, I'm a singer, you know, I wasn't living in LA, so I didn't have a doctor or anything. So I needed antibiotics and suddenly it became laryngitis and it was like, but the company was amazing. They provided me the doctor and as always, everyone, like I knew my music, so I never had to sing it until opening night. You know, when you're prepared, and it's like what I say to my students, like you gotta take care of everything you have in your hands that can go wrong. You have to have control over it because there are things you won't have.
That's right.
And in the moment I got sick, so I didn't have control over that, but I did have control about my music, musicality, acting, and opening night was the first day that I got to do everything.
That's when I remembered how beautifully you sang. And it is a happy ending. And I have a favorite photo that I from La Cruzar.
I know which one. I love it.
That's the curtain call. And of course, a director never goes out on stage, but an opera that's not uncommon. And you came and you dragged me out and I didn't fight too much because I was so proud of everyone. Now, let me ask you, this is the first time I'm assuming, how was it singing with a mariachi instead of an orchestra? You're still singing opera, you're still singing soprano, but it's not with an orchestra, it's with a mariachi, and the mariachi Vargas, by the way. So how was that? Had you ever sung with a mariachi?
No, never.
I can't imagine you belting out ranchera, so I was guessing no.
No, not with a mariachi, never. And I actually never did until opening night.
That's right. That's hilarious. That's right. You never did it. Because they arrived, I think, the day of or something that morning or something. Oh, that's funny.
No, I loved it. I loved it so much. And that's why I'm like, if only I could go back in time and be healthy and just enjoy every moment. But vocally, it's a little bit different how I would have approached opera because I would have used way more operatic head voice. But since the role was very like almost for a mezzo, I had the chance to use way more chest voice and more mixed. For you
and acting, it was very much an acting role, very great acting role for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was very down to earth, and that's why she stays low in her register, and it needs more chest mix, more deep sounds, because she's the character that is just she's in the floor, you know.
She was forced, that character, Renata. I want to talk about a fascinating thing to me, the OperaMaya International Music Festival, where you toured the Yucatan Peninsula. Tell me about that. It's a global thing. Singers come from all over. Tell us about it.
Yeah, and that's an international music festival run by a wonderful soprano called Mary Grogan. I believe she grew up in Mexico and went away, did her stuff. She sang, she did her master's and all her education. And she created this touring company based in Cancun, where she gathers musicians from all around the world. So there's an orchestra with people with all around the country, the US, Europe, Mexico, and then the singers, which there's like the young artists, and then there's like the younger singers, emerging singers, which we gather together and we perform all around the Yucatan Peninsula. So last year it was the Lo Mejor de Mi Vida tour. And we went to different towns. We went to Tulum, Puerto Morelos, Playa del Carmen, Acumal, Valladolid.
Wow.
And we performed bringing opera to those towns where they have never listened to opera before.
Wow.
As part of their proposal, they not only bring like classic opera scenes, you know, arias from the standard repertoire, but they do bring orchestrated Mexican music. So we get to sing also some boleros, music by
Oh, that's great.
by Maria Grever, Agustin Lara, and with the full orchestra, which is like so beautiful, so beautiful.
What kind of venues did you play? From A to Z, I would imagine, depending on the town.
Everything. I remember Teatro Cancún, Teatro José María Iturralde. We performed in plazas, we performed in churches.
Wow.
We even performed in a, what is it called? When it's like the where it's like a cave and there's water under.
Oh, yeah. Grotto. A grotto.
Yeah, there's another word, but yeah, we performed in all kinds of places.
Wow. How fun.
Cenote. Thank you, Abelardo.
Oh, that's where they sacrifice people. They throw them in there. That's why.
Not today, back in the day.
See, Abelardo was reaching back to his Mayan roots. Isn't that right,
Yeah.
Abelardo? You see, we can't see, but he's always there. Yeah, that's where they would throw in folks, you know. That sounds amazing. Would you ever be able to go back, or do you just get to do it once?
No, I'm actually going back on June for their tour this summer, which is called Lo Mejor de Mi Vida. The
Wow,
best of my life.
this June?
Correctly.
Wow. Oh, how exciting. Oh, man.
So you can guess what aria was I singing, right?
Yes.
Queen of the Night.
Yes.
It's always very impressive for people who have never listened to opera before to just listen to that aria,
Yeah,
which is
I would
so
think.
high. Yeah.
I would think if they've never seen a soprano hit an F, they're probably blown away.
Yeah.
I want to see Shakira hit an F.
Oh.
Now, most of your operatic roles, of course, were written by long dead composers, which is maybe not a bad thing. But you did a zarzuela, actually, La Llorona. In San Jose, and Hector Armienta is very much alive, who was the composer, and he runs, it's called Opera Cultural in San Jose. I've heard about him quite a bit. Tell me about La Llorona.
La Llorona, that was such a beautiful, it's very interesting to work directly with the composer, you know?
I would think, sure.
And when you can actually ask questions, can I do this? Can I not do this? Can I breathe here? Is it okay if I do this way? And he's so amazing. He's so talented, and his music is so beautiful. He writes beautiful melodies, and the stories are just great. Yeah, that was a classic story of La Llorona, and I was the daughter. So I was the one who went to the river. We got to sing some Nahuatl languages, you know, in some of the songs, like the river was calling us in now, I think it's Nahuatl. It was a beautiful experience. And he's been writing more operas. I think he now has an opera called El Zorro. And La Llorona, there's like a sequela for La Llorona. Yeah, he has great.
Do they tour them at all, or they just perform them there in San Jose?
So he performs in San Jose with his company Opera Cultura, but his operas are being picked up by other companies. So other directors and singers have been bringing them to their company. So it's been around all the US.
That's great. That's great. What, you know, when you do things, you know, that are well known, La Boheme and all the typical soprano roles, everyone's seen a million of them, of actors doing it. How do you make it your own? How do you try and bring something fresh or new to it when people are so familiar with that character and that opera? How do you do that? Or can you?
You know, I've never thought it that way. I've never thought about I have to do it some way so it's different. I think I try to kind of like find myself within the character and kind of like be very honest with the character, understanding why the character does this and that. And once I do that, I think it just gets a little bit of me and I get a little bit of the character, and that's what makes it unique. But never thought it like I have, you know, like how can I make it different, and just how can I make it me?
You make it your own by just being you, and the audience probably it's for you, really, for you to be happy with your performance. You want your audience to love it, but in the end, you're the one that wants to be happy with your performance, I would think.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of like, you know, seeing characters, the same characters sung by different people, because once you know yourself and you know who you are and you know who the character is, you can always find something to bring yourself into the character, and that will immediately make it different. If I try to do it as anyone else, that's their truth, you know, and that's when things stop being, you know, honest and organic.
Now, you are an actress, a real actress, and I know I've read that if you didn't have your beautiful voice, you would have been strictly an actress, a non-musical actress. But you know, you do have the voice, which is a part of you, but yet a separate piece. What I'm trying to get at, and I'm trying to find the word so I sound intelligent, and I'm not doing very well, but as you get older, you'll be able to play different roles that you can't play now as an actress. But how about the voice? The voice changes and matures. How do those two things jive?
Yeah, that's different for everyone. That's different. Like, I am a very high soprano, a light soprano. So it won't be, I don't think I will mature to be a full lyric or a more dramatic soprano. My voice will mostly stay as it is. So when I get older, and this is me assuming, it will be a little bit harder for me to find jobs that my voice can do, but I don't look like. But there are other voices that are more dramatic, that their voices age a little bit and they get even more dramatic, and then they look more as they sound.
I mean, your voice would never mature or drop to being a mezzo.
No, unless I get some pathologies and I get, you know, this would, you know, something that will like drastically change my instrument. But no, not very likely. I could maybe get a little bit fuller, just a tiny bit, maybe a little bit darker, not that much, but stay in my same fach. But if no operatic roles are, then I can do concert work. I do love oratorio. I love art songs.
Yes, that's right. There's still a whole world of, it doesn't always have to be full opera. You can do boleros.
Yes, I can do boleros with orchestra.
Yes, yes. Well, you do symphony dates and things like that, right? And you enjoy those. I saw so many beautiful photos of you, and I thought that girl must have 50 gowns in her closet. That's an expensive career when you're doing concerts, I'm saying, right?
It is, yeah. And I have way less now because when I moved, I just gave away a few. I was like, let's just keep a few.
Yeah.
But I usually have a lot of dresses.
But it's fun to dress up, right? It's fun to dress up. I think we're almost out of time. Do you have any passing anything you want to talk about or mention that we didn't talk about? Nothing. I know you teach. Are you teach online too with young singers, right?
Yes, I'm actually an assistant professor at the Conservatory of Music of Puerto Rico, where I graduated on my undergrad degree.
Wow.
And I still teach at Cuesta College in California, which I do it online because I moved here for this position. And then I travel to sing.
Yeah. And you have a husband that you see occasionally.
Exactly. My husband, yeah, he's a music therapist.
Oh, really?
Yes.
How interesting.
Mhm.
That sounds good. That sounds good. I want to thank you so much, so much. I'm so happy to see you.
You too. It's been so long.
Too long, and I'm still working on something. There might be another cruzada in our future. We shall see what we shall see. And then you can enjoy the whole rehearsal process.
I won't get sick.
Abelardo, did you learn about opera?
Sure did. But I don't know if you asked this question, Dan. What's the
Well, now he wants to be the host. Okay, go ahead.
difference between zarzuela and opera?
Oh, I did. You know, wait, now you're cheating. I told him I was going to ask that question, then I forgot. You're right. So thank you. What is the difference between a zarzuela and a full opera? Because it's more of a contemporary. Tell us the difference. Or is there a difference?
Zarzuela is from Spain in Spanish.
And that's it.
That's mainly it. Yeah.
So,
The topics are very light. There's not much like too dramatic, but yeah, that's mostly the difference.
yeah. There, you see?
And
So
they
the
have
question
spoken
wasn't that
dialogue.
important.
They also have spoken dialogues that most
There's
operas
more
have.
spoken. Well, we had spoken dialogue in Cruzad more than usual. So
Mhm.
maybe that was a zarzuela. We didn't even know it.
That was a beautiful hybrid.
Yeah. God, that was a beautiful, and the production was so beautiful. With the projections and everything. I know. We should call Thor and tell him to do it again. It's time.
It's time.
I still have all the notes. And you have all your notes.
Cruzar la Cara has a sequela, doesn't it?
That's right. That's right. All right. We're plotting. Do you have any more questions, Professor?
Okay, well, no, there was one image that we missed. I don't know how that happened, but it sometimes does. But tell us about this one.
Oh, that's the Maya. That's the Yucatan. Oh man, I really stunk today. Sorry about that. Yes, that's the Yucatan. Where were you there? Do you remember?
I think that was Teatro Cancun. It was one of the theaters, and I was singing actually there one of my favorite songs, Estrellita by Manuel Ponce.
Oh.
This beautiful Mexican tune that he wrote down for the lyric voice, and it's just so beautiful. And the orchestra arrangement was so lyrical and dreamy.
Did you do basically the same show everywhere you went, or did it change somewhat depending on the city?
It changed a little bit. They had the operatic repertoire program, and then they had the Música Mexicana program. And sometimes it was one or the other, but sometimes they just mixed it a little bit.
That sounds interesting.
Variety of repertoire. Yeah.
Do you have any more mistakes that I did tonight that you want to bring up?
No, that's it, Dan. I don't want to embarrass you further, but
I'm already embarrassed. It's too late and in front of my friend.
Too late.
Too late. I guess we're through, huh?
yes, we are.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for having me over. It's so good to see you.
I hope you come to San Luis Obispo and I'll drive up there and see you.
I'll let you know. I might go back in November. So
Yeah, let me know.
I was just there 3 weeks ago.
You're kidding. I have a very good friend in Ventura, so I go up and stay with her very often. So let me know next time and I'll come up.
Yes, I will.
All right, Mija. I'm so happy to see you.
You
See you
too.
soon. Thank you,
Bye.
Abelardo.
Good
I'll
night.
see you in 2 weeks with our other guest, Juan Escobedo, an amazing artist and photographer, and he's got an interesting background too. And he doesn't have high notes like like Alba does. Bye, Mija. Thank you so much. Thank you,
Bye.
Abelardo. Bye.
All right.
Good
night,
night.
Alba. Good night, Dan. And thank you so much out there for viewing In Casa con la Plaza, Dan Guerrero happy hour this wonderful evening. Thank you so much, Alba, for joining us. Let's see, just to recap what's going on. We have the Margaret Garcia documentary, an intimate portrait, this Saturday here at La Plaza at 1 o'clock, Saturday at 1 o'clock. Also, we recently opened up the Gloria Molina Community Champion and the Community Quilt of Hope. Please come on down and participate. It's an interactive exhibition that I'm looking forward to the visits. Also, we just opened up at La Plaza Cocina, our museum dedicated to Mexican food, the best food in the world, of course. Recetario para la Memoria. I'm going to share screen of the La Plaza Cocina's website. Recetario para la Memoria is an exhibition by a photographer by the name of Zara Gomez, and it's a photographic and literary project compiling the favorite dishes and recipes of the missing people in Mexico, whose families keep their memories alive by generously sharing their stories. So here's a few of the photographs, beautiful large-scale photographs there at La Plaza Cocina. We're open at La Plaza Cocina Saturday and Sunday from 1 to 5. Admission is free as well. So come on down, visit La Plaza de Cultura y Artes, walk across the street there on Spring Street through our historic Paseo walkway, and check out Recetario para la Memoria. And then come back to La Plaza, then walk across to Olvera Street and have something to eat or drink, or both. All right, well, that does it for La Plaza de Cultura, for En Casa con La Plaza de Dan Guerrero Happy Hour. Thanks to our sponsors, Kaiser Permanente and Union Pacific Foundation. If you didn't catch this entire episode of Dan Guerrero's Happy Hour, or would like to watch it again, or any of the other 80 plus, almost 90 En Casas featuring Dan, go to our YouTube site at La Plaza LA, our Facebook page at La Plaza LA, or our website, lapca.org. And you'll catch all the Dan Guerreros plus all of our En Casas from the past 3 years. Looking forward to seeing all of you here at La Plaza. And with that, muy buenas noches a todos. Hasta la próxima. Bye-bye.